Hello friends and welcome to Shared Them Smiles. I'm Alyssa. So I've been meaning to do one of these 7 on Sundays ever since they started. I was part of the group on Goodreads. I will try to put a link in the description in case you're interested in joining. It's just a group of people who, there's a list of topics, they have a topic for every Sunday, and you come up with 7 of whatever fulfills that answer. It's mostly books, but sometimes it can be authors, characters, and whatever book-related things. And I've been in the group since it started, but I haven't had a chance to do this myself yet. So I really wanted to jump in, and this is the first time I'm gonna actually hopefully complete one. So today's topic is 7 underhyped books. And I have personally had a little bit of trouble, and the reason I had trouble is because I guess I'm not sure what is underhyped and what is not. A lot of what I watch, I do watch some people who read adult books, but a lot of the booktube stuff that I watch is for young adults, so I'm not sure if it's just because of who I'm watching or if it's because it actually is underhyped. So these are going to be 7 books that, in my opinion, are underhyped, books that I am not personally seeing in more places. The first one being the only book that I don't physically have a copy of, and that is The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchison. I'm going to show you a picture here. That's what the cover looks like. So I actually had a coworker suggest this book to me. I am going to tell you right now, it is not for everyone. It's definitely a lot. It follows this girl who is rescued or escapes from this person they call the Collector, who kidnaps young women and tattoos butterfly wings on them and keeps them and like collects them in this garden. And so yeah, it's really creepy and it takes a lot of weird turns, but it's so interesting. And if you're someone who's into like the very weird, delving into the different mindsets involved in that kind of thing, which is what I personally find so interesting in books like that, then I would definitely recommend The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchison. The next book that I'm going to talk about being underhyped, again, it's not really a storybook, and so I'm not sure if maybe that's why I'm not seeing it everywhere, but it is Adulting, How to Become a Grown-Up in 468 Easy-ish Steps by Kelly Williams Brown. Now, I saw recently that there's like an updated version with some more steps in it. I didn't buy that one. I still have this one. But I remember getting this book closer to when it came out initially, which was back in 2013. So this was right around the time I started college the second time, I guess. But anyway, there's just a lot of really important, really good information in here about the things that you should do as you move from the teen years into the more adult years and the different responsibilities you're going to have to take on and different tips of how to get through things that you may not have necessarily learned on your own. There's all different kinds of stuff in here. There's like a section about cooking, and there was a section about cleaning, and just all different kinds of stuff. I remember one of the things that really stood out to me that I thought was really good was there was a list, I should have marked this before I started, for how to, like things, oh here it is I think. Yeah, so these are like the foods that you should always have on like to keep like always have, like there's different spices and condiments, different perishables, just different things that you should have that are going to go into a lot of different recipes that you would use. Just a lot of really helpful stuff that maybe because someone else was doing it or you just never put much thought into it that you may not know going into it. I found it super helpful, and I didn't find it very condescending, which was one of the big steps, the big deals for me, I guess. There's also stuff that's not like cooking or cleaning. Like, this is get your mind right, domesticity, cooking, fake it till you make it, get a job, money, maintenance, friends and neighbors, love, times are tough, families. So like there's a lot of different stuff in here. There's a lot packed in here, and I'm not a huge fan of how-to books or like self-help type stuff, but this is one that I thought had a lot of value and would definitely suggest, and I'm surprised I'm not hearing more about. The next book I'm going to show you also just recently had a reissue that I was not able to get yet, but I would actually be interested in reading, and that would be Sounds Like Me, My Life So Far in Song by Sarah Bareilles. Sarah Bareilles is one of my favorite artists. I think that she writes music in a way that I find super relatable and just really interesting. There's not really anything that she's done that I haven't really liked, and so this is just kind of her telling her story about, you know, becoming, like, getting into the business, and what kind of inspired her, and some of the conversation is about different songs of hers. She walks us through a couple of them and the story behind them, and the reissue, because I believe when this first came out, she does talk about Waitress in here, but Waitress didn't really like come out and explode the way it has until after this came out, and so she talks about writing it in here, but I think more of like the after effect and all of that is in the newer edition. I just, as a huge fan, I found this really interesting, and I also find sometimes that for me personally, reading a book written by someone like about themselves sometimes isn't the best way to go. Sometimes it's made me almost like them less. That's not the case with this book. I ended up liking her just as much, if not more, and I found it super interesting, and I'm not really sure why more people aren't talking about this. So the next book, I think, had its moment for a little bit, but I think should have had a bigger moment and should still be talked about, and that is Buffering Unshared Tales of a Life Fully Loaded by Hannah Hart. So Hannah Hart is a creator. She works on YouTube. She's had TV shows. Like, she's had multiple books out at this point. But this book is the one that is super personal. This is the one that she wrote like about her life, and in it she deals with so many different topics. She talks about mental health, she talks about being gay, she talks about religion, like she talks about all different kinds of things, and it's just her very honest experience with that, with YouTube, with just her life up until the point that this came out. And I think that her willing to be so vulnerable and so open is something that I admire and I think should get more attention for. And also I think that she writes stuff in here in a way that is so real, so honest, and really brings good attention to the different topics that she discusses. I don't think that this is a book that should have been kind of one-offed. I think this is something that people should read and should read again. I'm actually personally interested in rereading this book. It was definitely a journey and one that I really enjoyed, and I think everyone should read at some point. The next underhyped book, this is the one that I'm not sure if it's because like I said, I watch mostly YA booktubers, but I had never heard of this until a coworker gave it to me. Different coworker than the Butterfly Garden, and that is The Lightkeepers by Abby Genney. So this one follows this photographer as she moves onto this remote island for a year, and the seasons are expressed not as the actual seasons like fall, spring, and winter, but rather by the animals that are present during that time. It's kind of this island that is still very much so run by nature, and humans haven't really messed with it all that much, and so she's there for the year for for photography, and then there's a few other people that are there as well, different scientists who specialize in the different animals that you do see throughout, and it just talks about her experience there and her time there. And I thought it was really well done. I thought it was very atmospheric. At the beginning it was a little slow and I wasn't sure I was going to get into it, but by the end of it I definitely did. And I don't really see a lot about this, but I really enjoyed it, and everyone I've talked to who has read this has really enjoyed it, and so I think it definitely deserves more hype than it has. For the last two books, because I do watch and have been reading a majority YA, now I'm kind of switching up a little bit more. Not that I don't enjoy YA, I still love YA and I'm going to read a lot of it, but I'm also trying to read a few more adult books, as you can see. But these last two are going to be YA, and the first one is Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. So this book I've heard Emma Books talk about a few times actually, and I may have seen it in a couple other places, but I do not think it gets nearly the hype and the praise that it deserves. It again talks about religion, so it follows these students who go to a Catholic school. The main character is Michael. His family has moved, and so he has to go to this school for his father's job, I believe. And he doesn't want to go. It's a private Catholic school, and he is an atheist. And in class, this girl, who we later find out is Lucy, kind of stands up to one of the teachers and what she is saying. And he thinks he's found like a fellow atheist and like a kindred spirit, if you will, in the class. But it turns out it's quite the opposite. She's actually very strong in her religious beliefs and wants to be a female priest, which the Catholic Church doesn't allow. So then through interacting with her and some other events, he ends up learning about this group of kind of misfits within the school called Heretics Anonymous. And it's the people who don't quite fit into the mold of the Catholic school. And it is just so good. From beginning to end, I really enjoyed it. Like, I went to Catholic school, honestly, until I was 20 years old. And, you know, while some of it wasn't exactly like this, I definitely have either experienced some of this myself or seen, like, other people, like, while I was reading this, like, that I could absolutely relate to the same concept, I guess. I think it reads very true. I think it covers some things, but does it in a way that's still very respectful, and I loved this book, and I am surprised it's not bigger, and it deserves to be much bigger than it is. And the last book I also learned about from BookTube, but I only again saw it from one person, and that was A Clockwork Reader, and that was When the Moon Was Ours by Anna Marie McLemore. Now, I'm not sure if A Clockwork Reader, I know that's not her name, but I'm not sure if she actually read it, because when she talked about it, I remember she made it sound so interesting, and I was like, I have to buy this. She really liked it. I'm gonna really like it. And then, like, I saw a video recently where she still hadn't read it, and I was like, wait, I thought that's the whole reason I bought this. But I bought this book, and I fell in love with it. It's about a girl who fell out of a water tower and has roses grow out of her wrists, and a boy who paints moons and hangs them up around town, and their friendship. And there's these other sisters that are witches, I believe, but like, even that, like, it sounds strange, I realize that, but it is so magical and beautiful, and I don't think you need to know any more about this book before you go into it, but it very quickly became one of my all-time favorite books. I haven't reread it yet, but I plan to very soon. Anna Marie McLemore became kind of an auto-buy author for me. I've only read one other book by them, but I do own at least one more of their books, so I don't know. I'm super excited to read more by Anna Marie McLemore, and I wish that people were shouting about this book from the rooftops, because I absolutely would be. It's incredible. Everyone should read it. Does not get nearly the hype that it deserves. So these are my 7 underhyped books. Well, these are 6 of them, but you know, my 7 for 7 on Sunday. So what did you think? Did I get it right? Let me know down below. Are there any books that you think are like severely underhyped and you want to give a shout out to? Feel free to do that down below. If you're interested in doing any of these future 7 on Sundays, I will put the link down below for the group. If you liked this video and are interested in any of my future content, please feel free to hit subscribe and like this video so that I know that you liked it. And yeah, I guess that's it. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And as always, love you all. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to share those smiles. Ciao for now, friends.